Yeah, so good morning. Today we'll see Unit 4 fileless systems. So, how files are implemented, how databases are stored in the system, and all those things. So, for this, first we'll go through the storage, its basics, and then we'll move into the file structures. So, if not all the contents are required, only few some of the contents are required for this introduction file concept. So let us quickly go through this. So we have volatile non-volatile storage, that is RAM and hard disk. RAM is a volatile and hard disk is non-volatile. And we have magnetic disk for other tape drives and all those things. So now we have SSDs and a lot of other type of storage disks are available. So in this, let us go to the diagram. Yeah. So here we have storage hierarchy. So the cache memory is available with the processor. Here it is in the motherboard and CPU. Okay. And main memory is the RAM, and flash memory is ROM, and magnetic disk, optical disk, and magnetic uh, tapes. So here we have magnetic disk is a HDD hard disk. Okay. So here the uh, cost is high here, and cost is low. If you go to the magnetic tapes and all those things. Cache memory. So if you see the cache memory size will be in KB or MB, maximum 3 MB, like 6 MB. Because the cache memory is very costly to produce, I mean, to manufacture and all those things. The RAM, the cache memory is attached to the processor, which is very highly costly. And if you see the speed, faster. CPU, the cache memory is faster here, and it is the slowest. Okay, and yeah, faster and cost is high. These are and capacity, storage capacity. Storage capacity, storages. We have a very large storage here, high storage capacity in terabytes. Here, less storage. Okay, so the storage increases, and uh, cost here, the cost increases, and the speed is also increases. So this is how the storage hierarchy is represented in a system. Nowadays optical disk and all, mostly they are not using. Okay, let us, this is a magnetic disk, this is a hard disk. How we have different platters, and it contains different cylinders. Okay, this is a cylinder. Platter is this everything is each and everything is a platter, and each cylinder contains the cylinder. This is the cylinder. Here it has several sectors. The sectors may be divided into tracks. So sectors and tracks, and if you have multiple dedicated head which reads the data from the disk. So here mostly they employ several reading techniques, which sectors to be read and which are to be read maybe in the first come first serve basis, or they use lift approach. So in the lift, if you see most of the sectors, let us say you want to read the sector 10, 200, 150, and 80, 360, and 400. Okay. So it's like a lift. Okay. In the lift, if you want to, let us say, one person wants to go to from ground floor to third floor and first floor to fourth floor. So the lift will start. Let us say, it is starting from the ground floor. It stops at first floor, and let us say the another person on second floor, he wants to go to ground floor. Okay. So in this case, first lift will go from ground floor, first floor, then it will stop at the third floor, and it will stop at the fourth floor. Then when coming reverse, it stops the second floor and it will move to the ground floor. This is a lift approach. So the same thing will be followed here in reading the sectors. So it will go through the order. So here it will start reading 10, then it will read 200, then 360 and 400. Then in the reverse, when it comes down, it will read 150 and 80. So similar like that approach, it will try to read the sectors. So why this approach is used as to avoid the movement of spindle in different directions, and it has to go in a one direction, it has to read, then it can come back in the another direction. So this is what magnetic hard disk mechanism is used. So let us skip all these things. Mm, things are. This is called elevator algorithm. I mean, I said a lift tunnel, that is called as an elevator algorithm. So it will try to read in the order on one direction, it will go in one direction, then in the reverse direction, it will read the remaining sectors. So that is how there's a elevator algorithm works. Most of the disk they use this elevator algorithm. And flash storage, RAID. Okay, so RAID is a important technique used in a lot of places. So here they use redundant array of independent disks. So they try to use multiple disks in parallel. So there is to give a high capacity. They have provide high capacity and high speed by providing multiple disks in parallel. And here it will provide redundancy, high reliability, since even if a disk fails, it can be recovered. So mostly they used in servers and all those things when we want to take a backup, because we cannot depend on the disk. Anytime the disk may get failed. So that's why they go for redundant RAID disk. So here we have different concepts. So here it is called as a mirroring or shadowing. So mirroring is creating a copy or shadowing. I mean, you create a logical disk or two physical disks. So that is, you write for each and every write, you take a backup on two disks. So disk one and disk two, both are identical. So you write on both the places. Okay, so that is, you take a backup on both the places. So that is the mirroring or shadowing concept. So if your one disk fails, then another disk in the that will be available. And so the probability if the disk fails and the mirror disk also fails, so that probability is very very less. So mostly failure of multiple disk is very rare. So in that case, if we have a fire or any electric power outages, then there is a possibility that we have this very rare concept. Okay, like earthquake or something which destroys or something like that. So mostly nowadays they're going for a cloud storage, so that they can have a backup in the cloud. So these are all some pre-information before going into the file concepts, which is required in database concepts. So here we have two types of parallelism. So that is a bit level stripping and block level stripping. So here what it does is if you have a byte, okay, so 8 bits, so 8 bits. So what they do is they bit level stripping. They write each bit one bit and split the bits and store it across multiple disks. That is bit one in disk one, two maybe in a disk two, like that. They store it in a multiple disk. Okay, so in this case, they can for simplicity they take 8 disks. So they write each bit in each disk. So here it is not much used because of high access time reading from the disk and all those things. So that is why we go for block level stripping. Now here they store each bit into 8 disks. Okay, one bit to one disk, another second bit to the second disk, so that they can read the data in parallel. So we have higher access time. So, but the virtual stripping is not much used because of high access time and the seek time, because the hard disk has seek time and access time. So, block level stripping is next to the next level is block level stripping. So, block of set of bytes or blocks, so they stored in the disk type. So next set of block will be stored in the next disk. So like that they store it in multiple disks. So this is mostly used. This is for parallel access. So we can get a parallel reading when we read content from this disk. So block one may be in a disk one, block two may be in disk two. So like that we have block three in disk three. So in this case, what happens is we can read from multiple disks at the same time. They read all the blocks simultaneously, so the access time will be very fast. And here we have different RAID levels. So there are redundant and non-redundant. Redundant means we can recover from the failure. So they use parity bits and all those things to recover in case of any failure or any problem. They can use the parity bit to recover the data. So in this case, a block level stripping. So it's non-redundant. They use a two disks disk 1 and disk 2, they use two disks to store data in both the disks. So part of a block 1 may be in a disk 1, block 2 may be in a disk 2. So they store block level stripping here. In RAID level, it's a mirror disk with the block stripping. So here we have the original data and this is the mirror copy of the same data. So they maintain, if you have four disks, so they maintain four mirror disk. So all data which is updated here to be updated in the other four disks also. So but here it is the cost is very high, and read rate operations also takes both the disk has to be written. So for each and every update and all those things, so its a cost is very high. So mostly they go for they won't go for RAID level 1. So they have RAID level 3 and 2 and 3. So here they have a parity bit, error correction codes. This called as a bit level parity and all those things. Error correcting codes are used in RAID level 2, and bit interval parity is used in RAID 3. RAID level 3 here, a single parity bit may be used for error correction. The parity bits must also be computed into a parity bit disk. So they use the XOR of bits to recover. So that's a RAID level 3. In case of RAID level 4, here in RAID level 3, they use a bit interleaved parity for the set of bits. They calculate the parity bit. In case of RAID level 4, they use a block interleaved parity. So for the blocks, they calculate the parity bits and they used to use it for recovery. So that's a block interleaved parity. It's RAID level 4. And RAID level 5, we have block interleaved parity with here. So in previous level 4, so here the parity bits are stored in a separate disk. So this is the original content of the data, and the parity bits alone stored in a separate disk. So here there is if a parity bit disk is corrupted or anything, then uh, the issue arises here. So for that purpose, they go for RAID level 5. This is the most used RAID level. Uh, so if you want to recover from loss of data, so here they use n-disk and they store the parity in each and every disk. So yeah, so the parity will be stored in each of the disk along with the data. So that is the grade level 5. And grade level 6, they have a redundancy a scheme, that is additional parity bit redundancy disk will be stored, additional disk redundancy we call it as. So it is for multiple disk failures. So this case is very rare, the multiple disk failures. So mostly they go with RAID level 5. And if they want to recover from uh, loss of data. So it depends upon the requirement whether they go for RAID level 1 or RAID level 0 based on the data content. Okay, whether it is very important or critical information, based on that they go for RAID levels. And RAID level 3, 4 are not much used. So they go with 1 or 5. So these are RAID levels. So let us skip all this information. So people okay. So file organization. So the database, we need to organize the records as a file because we have to store the student database, faculty. Let us say if you take about our institute database. So here we have a student database, faculty database. All this information has to be stored in the uh, file. Okay. So database information will be stored as a file in the system. So how to store it, the data in the file? So how the records has to be stored, in which format it has to be stored, how to organize the records, how in case of deletion, insertion, and all those things, how it is done. So further we have parameterization methods. So here uh, the database is stored as a collection of files. So each file is a sequence of records. Records are sequence of fields. So student is a database. Okay, it may contain several records. That is student one, student two records, student three record. For each student, we have roll number. These are the fields. Fields are roll number, name, age, etc. So these are all the fields. So each database or relation will contain sequence of records. So these are the record you have different students. Each tuple is a record. Record is nothing but a tuple. Okay, and each tuple contains multiple fields or attributes. So how to store them? So one approach is they consider each record size is fixed. Let us say the student record size is fixed size, maybe 50 bytes along with name, student, name, age, roll number, and all those things. And each file has records of particular type only. So each database, student database will be stored as a separate file. If you have faculty, faculty will be stored as a separate file. So each file has a particular type only, one particular data, one particular table or the relations will be stored as a separate file. So that is the next condition they consider here. And different relations, they use different files. Okay, this is easiest to implement, and but there are some few issues because you have to maintain multiple files for different relations. So and you have to maintain the relationship between each and every relations. So storing in multiple files it creates a lot of files in the system, and to avoid that they go for other methods. So fixed length records. and variable length records are the two most used approaches for storing database in the system. Here, fixed approach. Here we have simple approach. It is here they store each record. Okay, so each record has a set of bytes. Okay, and where n is the size of the each record. So let us say this each record takes a 550 bytes. So that is 50 bytes. So next record takes an extra 50 bytes. So then they have a fixed size, and yeah, so that is about fixed length records. So here modification does across to cross does not allow records to cross block boundaries. I'll check and let you know later that. So, but records may cross blocks. Okay, in the hard disk we have blocks, correct? So we have different blocks. So in that case, it may go to different blocks. So yeah, the hard disk. Let's say we have a block one, so it will be stored as a blocks, block one, block two, like that set of bytes. So in that case, let us say this is 100 KB, block 1 is 100 KB, block 2 is 100 KB fixed size blocks. So in that case, if you store, let us say 110 KB as a data size, database record size is 110 KB. So one block will store 100 KB, another block will store 10 KB. So remaining 90 KB is getting wasted. So that is the problem with fixed length records. So here we have other issues like deleting, insertion, and all those things. So let us see an example here. So this is a this is a student database, I think. So yeah, department, uh, roll number, a faculty. It is, I think it's a faculty uh, ID, name, department, and maybe this may be the salary. Okay. So here, let us say we want to delete the record here. So deleting record 3 and moving last record. Okay. So here we have record 3 is Einstein is there. Okay, record 3 Einstein department is physics. So in this case, the ID number is 52s. So here we want to delete that record. So one way is you remove that record and from the file, and we have to compact it. So we have to move record 4 to record 3 place and record 5 to record 4, like this. We have to compact, and we have to move the records in the previous position. So in that case, each deletion will make all these records to be moved one step before. So it's a lot of wastage of resources, unnecessary reading and writing for single deletion. But here it only 11 records are there, but if you have 1,000 records, each deletion will takes lot of time to compact. So this is not mostly used. Compacting is very costly, and there is another way. So what they do is, in place of third record, they move some other record. Maybe we can move record 11 to the last record. So in the place of record 3, so we move record 11. Okay, so this way they maintain the structure of the file, so that there is no unnecessary compacting is not required here. But here, what is the problem is, after several deletions, again you have to sequentially arrange them. So, so that is a problem here. And there is another way is maintaining like a free list. So 2 more minutes. Let me finish this. So store the yeah. So they have a free list separately. So if any files are deleted, let's say record one, record 4, record 6 are deleted. So this is a field list. So field list will be the header. So which points to the next the field list. So like this, it will point to the next field list, and we have the end of the field list. So this way, they use the pointers to store the address, and they maintain the free spaces in these records. So this is one way of avoiding compacting and all those things. And how to store a variable length records. So these things we'll see it in the next class. So that's all for today's class. Any doubt? Okay, fine. No doubts. Let me close the. I'll leave the meeting. Okay, thank you.